Welcome, family, to another episode of Coach Love. I have for you Enrique Acosta Gonzalez. I am so excited to have him here in our pleasant presence.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Tell us a little bit about what you do, Enrique.
Yeah, well, simply I develop leaders, those specifically those that do not know anything about leadership, but are about to go into their first leadership role. I work with leaders that are struggling and are not afraid to say so, and as well executives that have lost their heart for leadership, and that's my main forte. uh, and I'm a minister since I was 26 years old. So it's been quite a while.
Wow, that is incredible. So you've been a minister since you were 26 years old?
That's correct.
So you might have a little bit of a notion, some expertise in for servant leadership.
I would say I have at least experience.
Experience. You want to know what that really does get to the heart of the matter, because the reality is so many leaders are afraid
Mhm.
to show their weakness. What have you found with that?
Well, in my sharing what I do, I specifically stated those that are struggling and are not afraid to say so.
Mm-hmm.
There is a stigma behind not being good enough,
Okay.
or being perceived to be not good enough. And the trouble really starts when a person is after a title or after a position, and they just go for that position and do not count the cost of what it really is to lead, or the ramifications of being a leader and having those that are following you, whether voluntarily or not, uh, have them suffer under your leadership because you didn't count the cost. Um, so yeah.
Okay. So when you have a person who does not want to um, lead past their weakness or um, share their thoughts on where they're struggling, what does that do to the team?
Well, let's talk about what that does to them first, because
Okay.
that's really where the biggest impact is. It takes a leader a lot of courage to come up to the surface and say, "I need help," mainly because of what may be perceived of them. But the leaders that really are successful are the ones that don't mind telling you that they don't know. That they give them some time and they'll find out. Or, hey, I'll get back to you on that. That's a great question. At this point in time, I can't answer that, but I know that I will find some help for you. Those leaders are the ones that do. Now, you can't say that all the time, right? You can't just
Uh-huh.
go through life and saying that all the time. But when it's appropriate and when it's needed, it should be said if it's true. That way, you develop a sense of trust among your people,
Mm-hmm.
where they can count on the fact that if you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
they still gonna get the answer because you will hunt it down for them. And so those are the leaders that are usually more successful. Now, so what happens with the team? Uh, well, let me talk about what happens with the person that is in a leadership position is not able to do that. Creates a false sense of security for themselves. They create a world that does not exist, and this is what I mean by that. They start to live out a lie,
Mm-hmm.
because since they cannot be truthful about their current situation, then they start believing lies in order to get them to the next step and to the next step. And before you know it, you're buried under lies. And so you will never, ever live what true leadership is because you're living something else. Now,
Mhm.
what does that happen? What does that do to the team? The team can smell that a million miles away. And so you're not fooling the team.
Okay.
And so what happens is the team starts to realize that you're a phony.
Okay.
And they start to realize that they can't trust what you say.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they will choose for themselves a leader among their group.
Oh, now that is a big deal. They will choose a leader among them.
And that leader will rise,
Mhm. Now,
whether they're in position or not, right?
absolutely, whether they are given the authority by you or they will be given the authority by those who are following them. That is very reflective and impactful. Tony Alexander is actually one of the well known leaders in the Epic Understanding community. And he says this: what you do has far greater impact than what you say. And I think that's really the point you're getting at.
Yes, it is. And, it's not my intent to bring this particular subject up, but it's just hot in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to the point that was just made, which is exactly right. We have a gospel singer, loved and admired by many,
Mm-hmm.
that what they did and what they said is having some dire impacts,
Mm-hmm.
not only on him and his family, but on in the Christian community.
Mm-hmm.
So, to the point that was made, uh, what you do
Mm-hmm.
as a leader
Mm-hmm.
has lasting implications. Lasting. I'm talking about from the moment you did what you did, it ends up at people's dinner table.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's take a look at the first part of this statement from Tony. The first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. Now, I want to talk about that in the
Mhm.
context of um, the the entertainer that you are speaking of, and I'm going to go ahead and confirm that we're talking about what has happened with Kirk Franklin. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And audience, we'll actually plan on unpacking this a little bit on next week's show. But basically, what has happened is Kirk Franklin had a rift with his son. His son recorded him, and you hear Kirk Franklin using profanity and things of that nature. For me personally, my thought process on that is, first of all, no one lose their faith. Kirk Franklin, nor any pastor or any other great gospel entertainer or what have you, no, there's only one God. It is important that we do not get um, creation confused with the creator. Okay. And so, saying that, we have to leave people room to fall from grace, so to speak, to be human, really. That said, it does wear a little bit on the your expectations for them or how you are modeling yourself after them. But perhaps that's not the right thing to do when it comes to your faith in the
Right.
first place. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, there's only one. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. At the end of the day, whatever people may think, feel, try to follow, whatever. There's only one, and he does not share that place with anybody, right? Um, I brought that up in terms of, hey, leaders. leaders, right? It
Mhm,
doesn't matter if it's him. It doesn't matter if it's anybody else. Um, I, for one, uh, was a leader
mhm,
at one time in my life
mhm,
where, and when I tell you about the falsehood and the fallacies that was my life. I'm
mhm,
telling you because I know
mhm,
it's easy to want positions and titles and fake the funk, right? You can fake it, and
okay,
and most and a lot of people will tell you fake it till you make it. I'm telling you, no, don't,
fake it till you make it.
don't, no, just make it. Don't fake it. just
Absolutely.
so so and this example is just one that's hot on the topics right now, right? So but nonetheless the impact is there, right? Because guess what, we're just talking about it. So
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
impact is there. And I love the reality, a piece of the comment that you kind of picked out, right? The reality.
Uh-huh.
So what leaders need to define is their reality first.
Right.
they
Right.
they have to be very clear on what their reality is.
Okay.
And if you're clear on your reality, say, okay, hey, you tell me, hey, Enrique, thank you. Hey, this job, it
Mhm.
calls for a leader. I thought of you because of what I see.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if me in the background, I
Mhm.
say, oh man, nah, that's mm, what I do in the dark, it won't fare well on that position.
Okay.
Then I need to say, you know what? Look, I value your opinion. And
Mhm.
I am so grateful and humble that
Okay.
you would think of me, but I'm not ready for that.
Wow.
If people did that and really defined their reality,
Uh-huh.
we be in a lot less messes
So
at the leadership level.
what you're asking people to do is, measure their ambition with who they are in the inside.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that most leadership positions, a lot of people will tell you, no, go ahead and say yes because I can see the potential in you.
Ah,
Your potential is not your reality.
okay. Okay.
Your potential is what a mentor and a coach can see in you. I could see it.
Mhm.
It's there, but we
Mhm.
got some work to do. We
Mhm.
got some work to do, and we can get that goal out of that. Oh yeah, I could see
Yeah.
it. But what people try to do is they try to live their potential today
Mm.
without having the goods.
Mm. I
And
want
that's a recipe for disaster.
well, you know what? You know what? It sounds like we really have to thread a needle there. I
Mhm.
want to bring up um, what our folks over at Faith-Based Workplace, just FYI, they're doing a fabulous job over there. Solomon Saboy, he is leading the way when it comes to narcissism in the workplace from a faith-based perspective. And so they
Mhm.
are tackling these demons that people really aren't ready to confront over there. But
Yeah.
what he says is, what we do definitely plays a part in others' lives. And I think what he's getting at there is the fact that when you are a leader, you have to be ready to step up to the plate with your behavior.
Yeah. The that is for sure.
Uh-huh.
That's for sure. Uh, s- some of the issues is that we don't know people 24/7, right? So we get a resume of what we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a resume of what we are allowed to see.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're allowed to see, I mean, you can just sit in a movie, right, for 3 hours. And some people can. I know that I can if it's like Lord of the Rings or something like that. That's very dramatic, and
Uh-huh.
uh, um, and I will come out of a movie. 3 hours long with a perception. Now the person could be sitting 6 foot, and I'm gonna say 6 foot because that's appropriate now, 6 foot away from me, and come out the same movie theater with a different perspective.
Wow.
They watch the same movie,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but there's a difference with what is allowed to be seen and what you want to see. Um, and going back to to the impact piece. Um, Leaders just have to be truthful. Just be truthful.
Okay.
We could take it.
Absolutely. Now, I want to the audience to know that when it says Facebook user, it might not necessarily be from the same person, and it's just because someone doesn't necessarily have um, their access available for the third party of StreamYard to show their name.
For sure, yeah.
But that said, I want to read this comment from the audience. That's right. Make it so you don't have to fake it. That's too much wasted energy. Okay. So that's one from one Facebook user. But then another user says, oh, wait, here we go. I truly don't understand why people are blowing this up. Now, someone might look at those comments and think they're in conflict with one another. But I don't necessarily see that to be so. What do you think about that?
Well, it depends on what we're blowing up. It must be the example, and I'm just going to think it's the Kirk Franklin example.
Absolutely.
Okay,
That's what they're
yeah.
referring to. Uh-huh.
So um, let me. It's not a matter of he is one person out of so many, right? It's just one example. If I dug deep enough in the news, which I won't, I could probably come up with 1,000 versions of this, right? A person, but what I'm saying is a person in leadership that is portraying one way, but in the dark is
Mm-hmm.
another,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Or has the potential to be another. Um, what I'm calling for is for leaders to be the same in the dark and in the light.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, at least we know what we got. You know, and your
Mm-hmm.
people require that of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the only reason why I brought that up. It's
Okay.
that the fact that leaders are held to a higher standard
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact it's not because of you. Hopefully, you hold yourself to a
Okay.
higher standard, right, for yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
it's for the people that are following, the people that you're leading.
So is it our expectation that someone of Kirk Franklin's caliber never, excuse me, never loses his temper? Or never
No.
never curses, really for me it sounds like that he was just done. He was frustrated. Someone had truly pushed his buttons, and if anybody can do it, family can.
Hmm. Hmm.
Family
Yeah.
can find the button. They've had a lifetime to look for it you
Yeah.
know now.
Um,
If that's his everyday MO, then that's a different thing. But if it was a blow up, then I don't know if it's fair for us to, you know, really be putting him, on the fire, so to speak. What do
yeah.
you think?
Yeah. I don't think anybody on earth is has the prerequisite qualifications to put anyone on fire. No one.
Hmm.
Now I'm telling you from my perspective. Um, had that happened to me when I was not living right, I'd have been in the same predicament.
Hmm.
Um, you know, uh, And this is what I will say from the um, yeah, and I'm looking at this comment right here, right now. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Um, it says Kirk Franklin has been more open than most ministers about his demons. That kind of makes me cringe almost.
Okay.
That a minister would and a demon, uh, it's
Mhm.
all in the same thing, in the same
Wow.
comment, in the same comment.
Mhm. Mhm.
But let me tell you what people
Mhm.
are capable of doing.
Okay.
People are capable of being qualified as a minister
Okay.
and still living the old life.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that's a capability. And I'm telling you because I did it.
Mhm. Mhm.
All
Mhm.
right. So I'm not talking about anybody else tonight. I'm talking about me.
You know,
uh,
Enrique, unpack that. Let's
yeah,
make it personal. Unpack
yeah,
that a little bit for the audience and tell us what you mean by that.
yeah. What I mean by that is that men, and when I say men, I'm talking about mankind.
Okay.
Mankind has created qualifications, right? These qualifications authorize you to work in a position or as a level of expert
Mhm.
in whatever field that has made its way to the church, right? A
Okay.
long time ago. This ain't new. Uh,
Mhm.
so um, I was I took an exam,
Mhm.
right? After I studied, I took an exam. People only knew what they
Okay.
knew about me. They didn't get, you know, they didn't
Okay.
get my dark unveiling, and they allowed me to take the exam. Now, of course, I'm not in front of people talking about what I do. I'm showing my best foot forward.
Okay.
So I show my best foot forward. I take an exam, and I get a license.
Mhm.
Okay. Now that license was given in good faith, right? They did not expect that I would be something else. But
Mhm.
but the truth is, I had this battle, which people are referring to demons. It was the flesh. I was battling the flesh, like most people are, and none of that. Now, God had his way and his purpose, um, but it didn't. It wasn't until I'm talking about almost 20 years later
Mhm.
that I run headstrong right into God, and He says, "No more, buddy.
Okay.
Not not today, and definitely not tomorrow. Today we're gonna get this fixed." What if God didn't do that
Okay.
to me?
Okay.
I would have been the same. I would have been the same dude talking to you right now,
Okay.
and
So
nothing would have changed.
so we know that many of the apostles struggled with certain areas of of the flesh. Paul even writes of that, right?
Mhm.
So how can we um, how can we measure those together? How can we reconcile those ideas together? Because certainly we're not asking our leaders to be perfect.
No, and by no means can anyone ask anyone to be something that even God says, "Be ye perfect." That means you're not, right?
Mhm.
If He's telling you be ye, he knows that you're not. But this is uh, what I have to say about my journey and my process in all of this. For me personally, God had to put the wall.
Okay.
He had to put the wall. Um, he obviously was fed up,
Mhm.
and rightly so. And it's not that it's not that God is telling you you got to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling you you got to be willing.
Okay. Yes.
And when you're willing for one thing,
Mm-hmm.
you're not willing for the other.
Okay.
And so where your will lies, or where you have deposited or invested your will, is where you're going.
Okay.
And so as a leader, we're not saying that you have to be perfect, but you have to be willing to
Mm-hmm.
be under the hand of God
Mm-hmm.
and be directed by the hand of God. That means that you don't move until he say move.
Amen. Amen.
You have to be willing, and that will has to be turned over.
Okay.
And as long as you don't turn it over, it resides in you, and you will always battle.
Okay. So, where would you say that Kirk Franklin is in this particular situation? Do you think that um, he's willing to grow in that area, or do you think he's justifying his behavior?
Uh, Look, I love that brother. Um, I'm gonna pray for him.
Okay.
That's it. Because I know where he's at. I was there. This may be his wall. Who
Okay.
knows? Who knows? This is public. My stuff was private.
Right.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, my thing happened. My whole encounter with God happened privately.
Mm-hmm.
It's only me who's saying these things now, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
His is public, limelight, right? We're talking about it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pray for the brother that he finds a way to turn over that will, and let God be God, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of um, so he has an opportunity, and that's what's beautiful about it.
Right.
He has an opportunity. That opportunity may be confronted with the fact that he may lose something, right? He may lose something. He probably lost some fans. He probably lost some money. Who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in a position like him, it's easy to lose real quick.
Right.
Um, but so my prayer would be for with him and his family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I said, I only brought it on because it's current, and I wanted to make a point as for leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So my hope is that whatever challenges he has, that he just turns them over.
Mm-hmm.
Turn over your will, and God's able.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna fix all that. He's gonna fix him, and everything's gonna be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not a much to do, except that some people are hurt, and that's a uh, you won't be able to erase some things from other people, and that's the penalty that leaders don't consider,
Mm-hmm.
that their action, although you may say, hey, I'm sorry, and everything go good, and you get reinstated, or you get a second chance and all that, there are some people that are going to live with that for the rest of their life. and
Absolutely.
and yeah.
My biggest concern here is if this behavior is a pattern for him. That's my biggest concern because I think predators, whether it's in the pulpit or in, um, you know, in the Boy Scouts, whether it's in the Catholic religion with the priests, in policing, in corporate America, I want predators to be rooted out. And as a society, we don't do a good job of rooting out predators. So I'm not saying that Kirk Franklin is a predator, but if he does have abusive, narcissistic, predatory behavior, then that's an issue.
And look, it may be right. In my case, that that was, right?
Mhm.
Um, but God was clear with me. He said, and just like I hear, like he says, where I am taking you,
Mhm.
you cannot go like this.
Oh, wow.
Plain and simple. And he said, I am about to uproot. I'm gonna bring everything out. And
Mhm.
I'm talking about from the age of 5 all the way to now.
Wow.
It was painful.
Mhm.
It was painful. But he did his work. And so, in terms of our brother Kirk, hey, God has ways of doing things, and this is just his lot right now.
Okay.
But there's still sunshine at the next day. There's still
Amen.
going to be a new sunrise, and he can look forward to that.
Mhm.
So it's not all done. It's just this is his process.
Mhm.
Is it a now? And I'll tell you this, right? Out of the mouth, out of the heart speaks the mouth, right?
Right.
Um, you, I cannot see myself speaking like that and it
Mhm.
not be something that's inside of me,
Okay. Okay.
right? So that's a given. Just like I can't see myself look at another woman
Mhm.
in a way that I look at my wife, and even my wife, I won't look at in some ways
Okay.
because I know that some of the ways that I would look were
Okay.
not taught by God,
Okay.
and so there's some times that I won't look at my wife because I say I want to honor my wife. I don't want to
Okay.
treat her like everybody else,
Uh-huh.
and so or like I used to treat people.
Mhm.
I honor her enough
Mhm.
to even with her be careful how I look at her.
Wow. Now
So,
that's a precious standard.
but it's the standard of God,
Uh-huh.
and that doesn't come. I have never. I've been in church a long time. I have never been taught a Bible study like that.
Mm.
Mm-mm.
Tease that
What
out
they
a
what did what happened?
No, tease that out a little bit more. Break that down.
Yeah. Well, what would the church say? Um, the bridal bedroom is your own thing. Not if you're treating your wife like you used to treat other people,
Oh, okay. Okay.
because marriage is sacred.
Mhm.
But if you're treating her like every other common thing, is it sacred?
Okay.
And so what God dealt with me was, that's my daughter. She's not just anybody else. Now he'll tell that to the next person, right? Because
Absolutely.
he's equal across the board.
Uh-huh.
But that's my daughter, son, and she is not no common thing.
Wow.
And so I have to look at her with reverence
Uh-huh.
as the weaker vessel per God, so that I can honor her appropriately,
Mhm. Mhm.
because what she deserves from me is something I haven't given out.
Mhm.
And if I was a worldly way before, she
Okay.
don't need a worldly man. She needs a man of God to treat her like the queen she is.
Mhm.
And the only way I can treat her like a queen is that I don't treat her like everybody, like I used to treat everybody else.
So, give us a practical example of that.
Yeah. So down here in Florida, we got Publix, right?
Okay.
Some people got Pathmark, some people got Piggly Wiggly,
Okay.
Winn Dixie, whatever it may be. I'm going down the aisle, and it just happens to be something that I can immediately identify that would be a female.
Okay.
Don't have to look. You could tell.
Okay.
So everybody telling, oh no, I have to look, and make sure. No, you don't. You can tell what's a female and ain't a female, right?
Okay.
Nonetheless, that's just registered in my head.
Okay.
And so what does my heart tell my head?
Okay.
That's a female, and you won't be looking that way.
Okay.
And that is what I do.
Okay.
Not for my wife,
Okay.
for my God.
Okay.
And so then my God honors me
Uh-huh.
because the only image I have in my head is my wife.
Okay.
And that makes me smile because there's some pride behind that.
Okay.
That I am giving my wife what she is due,
Mm-hmm.
which is solidarity. She is due that I honor her even when no one is looking.
Mm-hmm.
That is true integrity in a marriage.
So,
Now, this is what I'll tell you that I used to do.
okay.
Hey, you looking at? Well, I mean, the person's coming at me. I gotta look and
Uh-huh.
but not bump into them. And all right,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the way I live now is not the way I used to live. But
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, the way I live now allows me to keep a smile on my face because I know I am honoring my wife. Whether she sees it or not, my father does. And the amount of blessing that flows through my life
Uh-huh.
because of my giving up my will to him
Okay.
and allowing him to guide me
Mm-hmm.
and me say yes.
Uh-huh.
Will you do this? Yes, I will, Lord. And in marriage,
Mm-hmm.
the what a lot of times what people teach in church is that it's okay now you're married,
Uh-huh.
but it's okay to run like you used to. It's just your wife now.
Mm.
That causes issues
Now,
and issues that you might not even realize that they're being caused.
so say that again. You're married, but it's okay to run like you used to with your wife.
Right? No, I'm saying this, right?
Uh-huh.
You bring the trash you was playing with
Okay.
into your marriage.
Okay.
And so now because you're married, you think that now you're authorized,
Okay.
but you're still playing with the old trash. You didn't bring nothing new into your marriage. You
Okay.
brought old stuff into your marriage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because what I do today, I wish I did
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning.
Okay.
And for years, I cheated my wife out of what I'm giving her today
Okay. Okay.
because I did it like I used to.
So what you're really saying is leadership starts at home. It starts in the
Leadership starts in you,
okay, yes.
not even the home.
Uh-huh.
Leadership starts in you.
Okay.
And if you cannot lead yourself,
Mm-hmm.
now I will tell you, this is all a product of God dealing with me.
Okay.
Had God not dealt with me,
Uh-huh.
like I said, I'd have been the same dude. But he dealt with me
Okay.
so that I could see
Mm-hmm.
that there is a difference.
Mm-hmm.
There is there is so much joy at the end of my day
Mm-hmm.
where I cannot recall to my memory
Okay.
another woman outside of my wife.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is
This joy, unending joy,
okay.
and it makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
Aw, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. As a matter of fact, you have an anniversary coming up next week, right?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
March 21st, spring. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I get choked up because I realize how long uh, I was living that lie type of world.
Uh-huh.
I was successful at what I was doing,
Uh-huh.
and there's nobody that could tell you that I was not successful at leading.
Okay.
What I wasn't successful in was leading myself.
Mm-hmm.
I could lead everybody.
Mm-hmm.
People were getting promoted. People were getting all kinds of stuff. And I was fulfilling all the things that you would say a leader should be doing, except leading myself. And as long as I was leading others, I was fulfilling the void of leading myself
Mm.
because
Powerful.
I was feeding off of their successes. It
Mm.
validated me as a leader. But a true leader leads himself first.
So you are saying that you were completely successful in the out from the outside perspective of being
Yep.
a leader, but you were failing yourself. Let's unpack also a little bit for the audience, because you've been on here before several times,
Mhm.
but many of the audience, we attract new audience members all the time. So they might not know how successful of a leader you were. So give them a little bit of an understanding of your background.
Yeah, well, 26 years Navy and served at the highest positions the Navy can afford an enlisted man. I did not get to the top, and I always attributed to the fact that God has said enough, and your time at the helm is done. But he did other things after that. So he's a merciful God and a
Okay.
gracious God. Uh, but I led uh, personnel to
Mm-hmm.
their highest positions.
Mm-hmm.
I led what we would call commands to the highest positions. There was one command that I endear so much. They're so precious to me. A command of a complement of about 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 50 people is not that much, and tucked away on top of that, tucked away in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
But I led those. I led that command by the grace of God to becoming the most recognized command of the years that I was in charge there as the senior enlisted.
Mm-hmm.
They came out with the highest rankings enlisted person selected for the year.
Mm-hmm.
They were also selected as the command with the best retention.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Accolades that I could just keep going about. But in all of that success, and that's what I say. I mean, you could be successful. You could when they mention "fake it till you make it."
Uh-huh.
It's a thing. It's a thing, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
I got it.
Uh, you should just make it. Then go ahead and like that, like the other stuff. So I was very successful at almost everything, and that was the grace of God as well.
And this was
Um,
in a hard area too. It was in the field of meteorology, so it was a tough area.
like meteorology and oceanography,
Okay,
both combined. STEM field. A lot of brains in that community. Um,
absolutely. A lot of
uh,
challenges.
yeah, no, but a great community, a
Mhm.
great people. But the fact is that there was a lot of successes. I cannot say that God allowed me to experience a failed command.
Mhm.
Never, never did He allow me to
Mhm.
feel that, or experience that.
So
Um,
let's talk a little bit about nepotism in leadership and how to navigate that, particularly in the church, because a common theme and a common question um, that I hear brought up is the frustration that there is in the church regarding nepotism. People, so many people volunteer in the church. This is just real. You
Yeah.
volunteer in the church and you work really hard in the church. And then when it's time to get a paid position during the very job that you were doing,
Yeah.
it's given to someone else.
Yeah. So nepotism, what it means is that the practice among those with influence, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's any position of power,
Mm-hmm.
um, favoring others, right?
Uh-huh.
Even if you have a qualified person right there.
Uh-huh.
So and in the field of jobs, and it's funny because I'm reading this book right here, Becoming a Person of Influence. Right
Okay,
now,
yeah.
I'm a John Maxwell certified coach,
Okay.
and um, in that book, they give 10 traits of leaders that want to be influential, right? And so I'm going to cover this real quick, and then I'm going to address the issue, which is losing sight of these 10 things. Number
Okay.
one is number 1 is integrity.
Okay.
Number 2 is a nurturing person, a leader that can nurture others.
Uh-huh.
Number 3 is a person that has faith in their team. Listen and understanding their teammates and their group, enlarging them, making them bigger than what they are.
Okay.
Uh, Truly, right, deserving type of exalting them, make sure that they get the praise that they need to get.
Okay.
Navigating things for them, connecting to others. There's empowering others, and then reproducing or other influencers, other people of influence. So
Okay.
those are the 10 things that encompass a true leader that has influence. Now, this is the problem with influence, and it's why we're talking about nepotism. That influence can be mistaken for power that you have instead of authority that has been given to you.
Mm-hmm.
There's two differences there, or there's a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
A person that uh, leads with integrity is usually humble. So they know that that position was given to them,
Okay.
and they cherish it because if it was given, it could be snatched away. So they
Absolutely.
do everything they can to uh, give due to what they have been given.
Okay.
Now, there are others that say, no, I worked my way to this position. This belongs to me, and there's nobody gonna take it from me.
Wow.
They become possessive.
Okay.
When a person becomes possessive of a thing, they in turn feel that they're the one giving others authority. And so they get to choose who they give it to. And there's a saying that blood is thicker than water.
Yeah.
Some people live and die by that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have a cousin get no job at McDonald's because guess who's coming through the drive-through, right?
Right. There you go.
Hey, Kim folk, can I get it happens. It happens, right? And so some leaders mistake the authority given to them as a power that is rightly theirs, and they become possessive.
Mm.
And once you take possession of a thing, then you have just ruled everybody out from being able
Ooh.
to tell you what to do.
Mm.
And when you, and which is a spiritual mistake,
Okay.
because when you feel possessive,
Uh-huh.
you take on traits that are ungodly,
Okay.
because now you have just taken the position of God in that position.
Wow. Wow. That is.
And so no wonder you get to pick and choose regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hopefully that's not a CEO, right? Because at that point, oh boy, you got some problems. When it's a leader at a different stage,
Mm-hmm.
there should be other leaders looking into that and saying, that doesn't look right. That don't even sound right. I'm going to ask some questions,
Well,
because unchecked,
we can say that, but quite frankly, it's been a part of American government here, for quite some time. The first family that comes to mind are the Kennedys. You know,
it, yeah,
JFK and Bobby and Bobby Kennedy. I'm sure it's somewhere else, but that's the first place it comes to mind. And then here, most recently, the Trump family was connected in that way. And so the question is, how and where do you draw the line? How do you best navigate that? Because I can tell you that if you were to ask, President Kennedy or President Trump, they would have said the people that they placed in those positions were qualified.
um, so this is what happens.
Uh-huh.
Anybody that take possession can say that all day long,
Uh-huh.
but the people who truly gauge whether they're qualified or not are the people working under them, and
Mm.
and, and you cannot fool them. So it's funny that you bring up the government, because when so all of the positions that I've applied to and that have government affiliated with it,
Okay.
one of the questions they ask is, do you have a relative
Okay.
that works for this organization?
Right. That's
There's a reason why they ask. And so sometimes I wonder who's looking at these applications where other people were just thrown in there, because as far as I know, they
mm-hmm.
ask you, and for a reason. And it's usually to because they have to tease out whether your position is going to be compromised,
Mm.
especially if it's a classified position.
Mm-hmm.
That means it has sometimes like secret, top secret, confidential, So, there's a lot of things I don't ask because I can't change it, but somebody better be asking.
So let's just hover there for a second, because I think we might have unearthed the real question that we really should be asking. It's not whether the person is qualified or not, it's whether the person's connection to that position is going to compromise any part of the work or appear to compromise any part of the work. I think that's the real question.
And it is, but let's look at what truly happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have an empty spot. You
Mm-hmm.
need to fill it. You got to fill it. Hopefully, you actually have a succession plan
Uh-huh.
built into your organization
Okay.
where that's never a question. Number two is always being reared.
Okay.
There's going to be a vacancy. That's okay. We got a number two for that, which
Okay.
will be a number one when they get there. But we do such a poor job in creating succession plans for companies and in companies, that what happens is a vacancy comes up and we're scrambling.
Yeah, I was
Trying
just
to fix.
about to say, people don't do succession plans like they should. They just really
No,
shouldn't.
they don't. But it's so vital because the longevity of your organization depends on it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, let's take you brought up the previous administration.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, as much shuffling that happened in that,
Yeah.
I sometimes I likened it to to war, where you only had a limited time between you went from the insertion to the point where you need to go. There's some war zones that had seconds of lifespan
Wow.
from the moment you left your vehicle to
Uh-huh.
get onto that beach.
Mhm.
There was some war zones had 16 seconds of
Mm.
life expectancy.
Wow.
I would look at how many people were dropping from positions in government office in this last administration. I was like, this is almost like that. Why get in a position where you only got a life expectancy about 6 months,
Oh my
right?
goodness.
It was playing out. But that's what happens when you, as we were talking, nepotism,
Uh-huh.
you just start appointing people. Hey, Charlie, you got a job? No, come on. Yeah, that's what it was looking like
Oh
in
my God.
America.
Did you
It
say, "Hey,
was,
Charlie"?
hey, pick a name. I don't know. But it was like that. And I'm sitting in my house. I said, I got 26 years of government and military experience and service. I could fill one of those jobs, and all you gotta do is call me.
Okay.
But I never got the call.
You never got the "Hey, Charlie"?
I didn't never get it. I never got it. But what so that's and it's a sad thing to say.
Mhm.
This is our nation
Yeah.
and they're running it like that. And so imagine corporate America.
Uh-huh.
So uh, the real question is, can this person fulfill the not just the role, but can this person continue to uphold what that position requires?
Wow.
And are they going to compromise our company by not doing so? And if you ask that question, there's going to be a lot of more scrutiny, obviously, and more time to hire somebody. But you won't be dealing with turnover quite as much as in the whole. Hey, Charlie, you won't. And so it's a possession thing. But we can fix all things. But are people willing to? And the problem is that they're not. They can complain about it all day long, but they're not willing to.
So I think that you just hit on a good stopping point for us because obviously we have to continue unpacking servant leadership. I think this is a discussion that we're going to keep having to unpack and encourage and equipped. So the next time you come back, we'll talk about some um, good habits to form and good policies to put in place in order to encourage servant
Yes.
leadership. But I do want to say that you pointed out a repercussion that if you don't have a good servant leadership or if you let nepotism um, lie in your organization, is that you foster a higher turnover rate. And it might not
Mhm.
be the person leading that's leaving, but it will be the people that are under them because they don't
Yep.
believe that fairness exists.
Yep.
Absolutely. Do you have any encouraging words to leave our audience with today?
Yeah, I'll leave you with this. All things can be corrected, but we do need people to speak up. And you could do that in a very respectful, a very legal, let
Uh-huh.
me just throw that in there, and a very appropriate way. Uh, but the fact remains of what you just said. Either the person will buckle under the pressure of that leadership position, or the people will leave because they cannot endure another day of false leadership.
Wow, that is powerful. Surely you're not talking about whistleblowing, but we'll have to talk about that next time. Thank you, family, for watching. We've surely enjoyed our time with you today. Have a blessed Sunday. Bye bye for now.